this is the beginning. This is how it starts. You get drip, drip, drip. And also the other thing that we're seeing is, as I reported, possible donors rethinking where they're going to put their money. And also, obviously, staffers inside the White House turning on each other. They're turning on each other at the lower levels. The lower folks are turning on the higher folks. That's what the report in Politico was about this morning that you referenced earlier, MBD, about how there's fury now, reportedly, by other staffers at Biden's tight circle for keeping them out to where they had no idea. Okay, sure. I have nothing to do with the Biden circle, inner or outer, and I knew. You guys knew. So spare me their protestations, but I'm sure it is true that just how bad it was, like what we saw at the debate, has been kept a secret. This was the lead this morning on Morning Joe, where Joe Scarborough, after coming out after that Thursday night debate on Friday morning and calling for President Biden to give it up, saying, I don't think he can do it. He was his number one cheerleader, has been absent all week. It's like a single vacation. His wife is sitting there. I don't know about you. I don't go on week-long vacations without my husband. That's not a thing for us. But he's gone for right now. She's been out there. She's a big Biden supporter. But nonetheless, this is how Morning Joe opened this morning in part. Watch.
A lot of calls for the president to make calls. And my sources are telling me he's going to make them. Simmer. But here we go.
So, Eli, you're part of a reporting team for Politico that includes our buddy Jonathan Lemire, out with a new piece titled, "We've All Enabled the Situation. Dems Turn on Biden's Inner Sanctum Post Debate."
So, they came up with this rationale for him to run anyway, that he's the only person who's ever beaten Donald Trump, and thus he has to be the candidate again. And I think now the view across the party, at least among a lot of the people that we talk to, is that seems to be a pretty self-serving and maybe delusional case for another 4 years.
Jim Vandehei, your piece with Mike Allen for Axios this morning for your Behind the Curtain column is entitled "Democrats Rage at Biden Rises." Explain what you're hearing.
Yeah, I would say we've talked to literally dozens of House members, most of whom aren't going to go on the record yet. The ones who are going to go on the record already have. They're furious. Like, they're just not buying it.
And his piece went on to say, as a Democratic strategist in a battleground state put it, the number of people who have access to the president has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. They've been digging deeper into the bunker for months now. And said the strategist, the more you get into the bunker, the less you listen to anyone. This is what happens when you're losing. Everybody turns on everybody, Charles. Like, that's losing begets more losing, begets anger and blame. Usually that happens after the November election. It's happening now because the presidency, the campaign itself, is imploding.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you're losing, but it's also what happens when you're lazy and you have around you this carapace of support from the press that lets you get away with making what was described in that segment as self-serving arguments. The argument before the debate was that Joe Biden is the only choice that Americans can make if they want to preserve their democracy, which doesn't really make sense on its own terms. Now that argument has been extended. That argument is that Joe Biden is the only choice his party can make if they want to save democracy. We've moved the locus of saving democracy to the primaries, such that Jill Biden is quoted as saying that he's the only person who can do the job. I think MBT mentioned that. That's ludicrous. But it is also the sort of case that you make to people when you're just not used to having to argue. I've seen so many Republican comms people on Twitter in the last couple of days saying, guys, you've been playing on easy mode for years. Finally, you know what it's like to be us. And there is something to that. So I think one of the things you're seeing here is the people who have a real interest in the Democratic Party doing well, that is elected officials and aspiring elected officials within the Democratic Party, are suddenly hearing the arguments that have been made on their behalf for years thrown at them Instead of Republicans being told it, guys, you're the threat to democracy and Joe Biden is the savior. People who've been sheltered by that argument are now hearing it, and they realize how completely ridiculous it sounds, and they're getting really frustrated with him. So it's partly, yes, that this is what happens when you're losing and that people turn on one another. But it's also that when the table is flipped over and you see what's on the other side, it looks very different than when you're hiding under it.
Oh, I've got to play this soundbite, Charles, from Keisha Lance Bottoms. Okay. Talk about chutzpah. This person, who's a former Atlanta mayor, now is a senior campaign advisor to Joe Biden. And Keisha is very, very upset about the media coverage of Joe Biden and his debate performance, and people suggesting he needs to drop out in the media. Listen to what she says. Top 14.
Editorial boards are supposed to honor fair elections. And I don't think it's fair when an editorial board with 10 people sitting in a room are trying to influence an election, especially in a state like Georgia.
She called it election interference for publications like the New York Times to say he needs to drop out. He can't. It's election interference to negatively criticize the sitting president. I really struggle to remember her saying anything about what President Trump has been through with the media.
No, it's been astonishing. And one of the secondary story, right? The first story is Joe Biden, his unfitness for the presidency. What are Democrats going to do about it? But the secondary story is the media scandal that, you know, the media has been covering up for him, and they've been covering up for him with tools and words and techniques that they developed to control the narrative during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? The New York Times, several weeks ago said that the videos showing Biden's, evident age and infirmity were fakes and were misinformation or disinformation campaign. Now the New York Times, in I think a very costly way to their reputation, is citing those exact same moments as like evidence of Biden's evident decline. So they've switched from this story is right-wing disinformation, maybe it's coming from abroad, maybe it's some kind of election interference, to saying, nope, this is a fact and we have to deal with it. So this is the costliest media retreat I've ever seen. And in a way, it's the culmination of 4 years of lying with impunity. And it's all falling in on Joe Biden right now as everyone in the media class tries to save their own skin by finally filing a report that does him in. It is a really astonishing scramble. And, I would feel bad for Joe Biden, if he were still here.
Oh my Lord, you guys, this is just, I'm telling you, I started the show by saying the dam is breaking, and in the last 2 minutes, both the Boston Globe and the Atlantic have called for President Biden to step out of this race. There's going to be many, many more. Here's the Atlantic in a piece authored by, hold on a second, Adam Serwer. Biden must resign. If the president wants to protect American democracy, he should hand over his office to Kamala Harris. His opening line, Joe Biden must resign the presidency. So he's where you and I are, MBD. And maybe, I don't know about Charles. We didn't ask Charles that question, but I know he's the number one disliker of Kamala Harris in the nation. So I can't imagine he's in favor. Let me ask you quickly, Charles, are you in favor of Joe Biden stepping down from the presidency?
Well, I think he should step down from the presidency, even though it will put her in the White House. And as you say, I am the number one Kamala Harris hater in the nation, have been since 2019. I just don't think he's going to, Megyn, because I don't think that he will get that far. To voluntarily resign the office is just a bridge too far for that man.
I agree. He won't do it. He should. And in fact, I think it could be part of the deal that they make with him. that there are calls for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Many are now calling you to step down from the presidency. We'll let you leave with your head held high. We'll celebrate you at the Democratic Convention as a savior. Your legacy will be intact. You won't be Joe Bader Ginsburg. And, you can go out peacefully as opposed to ending your presidency early. That could be one of the bargaining chips brought to him. Serwer goes on to say he must resign the presidency. The last person to do so was Richard Nixon, who left in disgrace after abusing the powers of his office. Nixon had to resign because he led an assault on American democracy. Biden must resign for the opposite reason, to give American democracy its best chance of surviving. He doesn't sound like a Trump fan. Serwer focuses on politics and race. For The Atlantic, he worked in the past for Mother Jones, BuzzFeed, and then this from the Boston Globe editorial board. It's not a columnist, it's the editorial board, saying current and former party leaders should be doing their best to persuade the president that the end of his long and grand political career is near. It's pretty remarkable to see this pouring in. I mean, I don't want to brush past this. This is a very big deal when you've got the New York Times editorial board saying it, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, now the Atlantic, now the Boston Globe, more and more MBD soon it's going to be all of our major publications, or 99% of them, saying he must step down or at least give up his candidacy. This July 4th, as we celebrate the birth of our nation, it's important to reflect on the freedoms our forefathers fought for. But today, these freedoms are under attack. Look no further than the treatment of President Trump and the lawfare we're seeing this year. That's why now more than ever, we need organizations that are fighting back. AMAC is the Association of Mature American Citizens, and this is more than just a senior discount organization. AMAC is dedicated to protecting conservative values and defending our rights. Just listen to the way they talk about themselves in this ad copy. They're not afraid. They're ready to fight and to stand up for conservative values, unlike some other senior organizations, okay? You can learn more about how AMAC is actively fighting for your freedom by visiting amac.us/Megyn. By joining AMAC, you're not just becoming a member, you're becoming part of a movement. This July 4th, stand united. Join AMAC today and ensure that your voice is heard. amac.us/MEGYN. Together, Americans can make a difference. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.